Osgood Perkins is definitely one of the most high-profile young directors working today. He's got a new film. It feels like he just had a film with the monkey maybe 6 months ago, something like that. But yeah, he's got a new film now called Keeper, which I've been very curious about. So we're going to review it. Let's go. Keeper stars Tatiana Maslany, Rossif Sutherland, and is directed by Osgood Perkins. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2025 review. Osgood Perkins is one of my favorite current working directors. I just am in awe of the talents of this man. Matter of fact, I just went back and watched The Black Coat's Daughter, his first film. Gave that a rewatch last week, and I forgot how amazing that film is. And I think that's how you do a slow burn, because it is a slow burn, but boy, the payoff is just insane. And I would say Keeper kind of is filed under that category. It's a slow burn for sure, but there's a difference between a slow burn movie and a boring movie, okay? Slow burn still keeps your interest and might put you at a sense of unease throughout the movie, and that's what this movie definitely does. But before we get going, I want to give a quick shout out to a young gentleman by the name of Jeffrey Franson, a dear family friend, Kelly, who happens to be an elementary school teacher. One of her students thought my background was cool, and I quote, I think he said cool. I hope he thinks it's cool. Jeffrey, do you think my background's cool? Maybe one day you can have this background. Who knows? One day this could all be yours, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, don't watch Keeper for at least maybe 10 years. Okay. Kelly knows I review very dark stuff. So yeah, but you know, I just wanted to give a shout out to Jeffrey. Thank you, good sir. Appreciate you. And also subscribe to the channel. This is something I'm going to start doing. I don't ask for anything from anybody. I'm not that type of reviewer, okay? Makes me feel uncomfortable just doing it right now, but I want to get to 100,000 subscribers. Be a part of something. I'm going to be very careful with the plot of this movie because I think you'll find it more enjoyable if you don't know that much about what's going on. I mean, look, we all know Osgood Perkins does a certain type of horror film. You know, he stays within a certain lane, I would say. And if you've watched all his movies, then you'll know what I'm talking about. He likes really dark, I would say even evil stuff. This movie, of course, definitely falls into that category, but I'm not going to go into specifics as to what happens in this movie, because you will be surprised. Definitely some crazy, crazy stuff. But just to give you a quick, brief plot synopsis, our main characters here are Liz and Malcolm. They are at the beginning of a relationship. It doesn't really say how long they've been together, I don't think, but they haven't been together that long. Enough for her to fully trust him, and you'll realize that as you're watching the movie. They go out to Malcolm's cabin, you know, doing what I guess young couples do that are dating and they've been together for a while. It's serious, so you might do like a little weekend excursion. So that's what they do. But when Liz gets there, she's definitely uneasy about certain aspects because she doesn't 100% know Malcolm. She has heavy, heavy feelings for him, maybe even love, but how much do you really know about a person that you're not married to yet, I guess? And so that's sort of the theme that this movie explores. If you watched the trailer for this movie, it definitely has a relationship horror vibe to it. But I think the trailer's perfect because it really gives nothing away whatsoever. But I will say, what I thought this movie was going to be, it was not. As far as like after watching the trailer and thinking, oh, I think they're gonna explore like relationships and throw in like a horror angle to it. And they somewhat do that, but I think once you see the movie, you'll realize that, no, I'm still a little bit surprised after seeing the trailer. But I like that. I like that I didn't know much about this movie going into it. Now, I will tell you a little bit more. Again, this is spoiler free. Right away, you don't really trust Malcolm. There's something off about him. He seems kind of guarded about things. There is this cake that enters the plot, I'd say within the first like 10 minutes. And there's like a smear on the cake. And automatically you kind of get like a chill up your spine. Like, oh, something seems off about this. And I think this movie is propped up initially by these quick little flashing psychotic moments, for lack of a better phrase. I guess you could call them like quick scares, but they're definitely plot related. That's what I love about Osgood Perkins. He's not just inserting scares for the sake of checking a box in terms of like horror movies. No, I think he puts the story first. And I think oftentimes that's the right way to go, because if there's horror to be had in any story, it will present itself if it's directed effectively. And that's why Osgood, I think, is one of the best working today. When you watch his movies, you don't see cliche, tropey type scares. Every scare in the movie, instead of abruptly hitting you in the head, it sort of eases up on you. There are a couple of moments like that, but every scare in this movie has a reason. I guess that's the best way to put it. What I love about this movie is that it is definitely a slow burn. It takes a while to really get going, but I think it does a great job of building tension constantly throughout. You never feel at ease when you're watching this movie. As a matter of fact, and by the way, I was the only one in the theater until somebody walked in like maybe 10 minutes after the movie started, which is weird. But I found myself constantly like, putting my legs up in my chair, never sitting still. And I think that's a good sign in a horror movie. If you can't sit still because you feel uneasy, then I think the horror movie is doing what it's supposed to do. Now, this movie has very strong performances, especially by Tatiana Maslany, who is, I think, in the movie the most. And I think one thing we don't realize about horror movies and, actors in horror movies is that oftentimes they have to emote with their facial expressions. Oftentimes they have to act without actually saying a word. And there's so many moments like that in this movie. And just think about it. If you didn't really know how to properly react to anything that's supposed to be happening to you, it's going to ruin the movie. And Tatiana is flawless here because she can really sell a scene. That's what it gets right down to. You buy her reactions to everything. She feels like she's fully immersed into the character and the situation. And there's a lot of horrific situations throughout this movie that involve her. I also love the way Osgood Perkins directs his films. I think camera placement is one of his strong suits. There will be scenes where the camera looks like it's behind a bookcase or in a corner. Putting the camera in unconventional locations to sort of ramp up the tension, instead of just kind of putting it head on. You'll get low angle shots, high angle shots because you're in like a 2-story environment. And this is like a one location type horror movie. It's a small little horror movie. But when you have a house with so much character like this movie does, that just gives you so many opportunities for creative blocking and ultimately telling your story. Now, of course, I can't go into any of the spoilers in the last act, but just to give you is this movie scary? I think a lot of horror fans going into these horror movies, even though I don't get scared by movies, I think it's important to my audience to tell you guys, like, is this like in the top 10 scariest movies of the year? Maybe, just maybe. And it's hard for me to gauge that, but I can tell when a scene is effectively done horror-wise. And there's some crazy, crazy stuff in the last act, but also kind of sprinkled throughout. I think there's different types of scares in horror movies, but I like that Osgood Perkins really goes for it. If he wants you to see it, you're going to see it. There's going to be some imagery in this movie that's going to surprise you, and you're going to be like, wow, that's creative, and I kind of don't feel comfortable right now. A lot of stuff like that in these movies, and I love that Osgood Perkins, he can really take on anything. He's very versatile. He can take on a small little project like this. This is very small scale. And then he can take on something that's a lot more ambitious, like, say, Longlegs. But overall, I just found this to be a very satisfying horror movie. Top tier. I think this movie is polarizing. I think there's going to be an audience that this movie's just not going to be for them. It's definitely for me. But I think if you like Osgood Perkins movies, then I think you're going to be safe here. I think you're going to like this movie. I'm definitely giving this a high purchase worthy. It's still sitting with me. I just walked out of the movie, but it's definitely having an effect on me. As a matter of fact, I'm developing a little bit of an itch right here and right here. So I'm going to have to see to that after this review. But this might be the most screwed up movie of the year for sure. Okay, so let me know what you guys think of Keeper in the comments. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Also subscribe to the second channel, Drumdums Xtra, where we have my live stream clips and whatnot, topical type stuff. Come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays, review for all Fridays. Follow my Drumdums on my social, support me on Patreon, become a channel member, buy me a coffee. You guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Drumdum out.